Hey everyone, if you're diving into Genshin Impact, you already know that having the right team can make or break your adventure. And let's be real, while flashy DPS characters get a lot of the spotlight, healers are the real unsung heroes. They're the ones who keep you standing when the battle gets tough, and sometimes they surprise you with more than just healing. From shielding your squad to throwing out some decent damage, these healers can do a lot more than just patch you up. In this video, we're going to talk about the best healing characters in the game, who can keep your team alive and maybe even turn the tide of a fight. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned traveler, knowing how to use these support champs right can seriously level up your gameplay. So sit back and let's find out which healers deserve a spot in your party. I'm quickly moving on to the video.
Very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel.
If you enjoy these types of list videos,
don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos.
Subscribe. Enjoy watching.
Thanks.
Alright, let's talk about Diona, one of those unique healers in Genshin Impact who doesn't just throw out heals like candy, but brings a nice mix of defense and support to the team. She wields a bow and uses cryo powers, which already makes her stand out since most healers are more focused on pure healing or buffs. What's cool about her is that her healing mainly comes from her elemental burst called Signature Mix. It's an area of effect ability that heals everyone in range while also hitting enemies with cryo damage. But here's the thing. Unlike other healers, her healing doesn't get bigger with more health points, so stacking her with a ton of HP won't boost her heals as much as you might expect. Now, if you want to get the most out of Diona, a little tip. Focus on energy recharge instead of just pumping her health. Since her healing is tied to her elemental burst, the more energy she can get, the more often you can pop that burst and keep your team healthy. But don't forget about her elemental skill, which is where the shielding magic happens. When you use it, she fires a bunch of projectiles that can put up a pretty solid shield for whoever's on the field. If you manage to hit enemies with all of them, that shield gets really tanky and might even make you rely less on her healing burst because the shield is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So basically, Diona is like this fun little support hybrid. She's not just a healer, she's also a protector. She fits perfectly on teams that need a bit of extra defense with cryo application for elemental reactions. If you enjoy playing more strategically and love the idea of juggling shields and heals, she's definitely worth trying out. Just remember, her style isn't about constant heals, but smart timing with her burst and skill, which makes playing her kind of satisfying in a different way compared to the usual healers. Let's dive into Qiqi, one of the more interesting cryo healers in Genshin Impact, who uses a sword and has a pretty unique healing style. Her healing power actually scales with her attack stat, which means boosting her attack not only helps her deal damage, but also makes her heals stronger. Both her elemental skill, Adeptus Art, Herald of Frost, and her elemental burst can heal your team. But here's the catch, they have pretty long cooldowns, so she's not the best pick if your team needs constant healing, but if you can time her heals well, she can really keep your squad alive through tougher fights. One cool thing about Qiqi's elemental skill is that it heals the active character periodically while also hitting enemies with cryo damage. This makes her pretty handy if you have a Hydro character on your team, because those cryo hits can trigger freeze or other elemental reactions that really help control the battlefield. It's kind of like getting healing and crowd control in one package, which can be super valuable, especially in longer fights where healing over time is just what you need. And if you're lucky enough to unlock her 6th constellation, which is no small feat, things get even better. This constellation upgrades her revival abilities to something pretty epic. Instead of just reviving one character, she can bring back multiple fallen teammates at once and restore half of their health. That's actually stronger than what Barbara can do, so if you manage to get there, Qiqi turns into a real lifesaver for your party. Overall, she's a great choice if you want a healer who can also chip in damage and keep your team healthy with well-timed skills. Let's talk about Sigewinne, the Hydro Bow user who's basically a healing machine in Genshin Impact. When it comes to pure healing numbers, she's hard to beat. Her elemental skill, Rebound Hydrotherapy, however, creates this special bubble that bounces up to 4 times, and every bounce heals your entire team. It's like a healing party trick that just keeps going and going. Plus, at the end of the skill, Sigewinne heals herself a huge amount, but loses her Bond of Life, which is a neat trade-off that adds some strategy to using her skill. What makes Sigewinne really stand out is how short the cooldown on her elemental skill is. This means you can basically spam that healing bubble to keep your team topped up constantly during fights. It's super reliable and easy to plan around, so you don't have to stress too much about when to heal. If you're playing a team that takes a lot of hits or you just want that peace of mind, Sigewinne's healing is like a safety net that rarely lets you down. That said, Sigewinne's biggest downside is that she's mostly just a healer. She doesn't bring much else to the table in terms of buffs or extra support unless you get certain constellations, weapons, or artifact setups. So once you get comfortable with the flow of combat and start managing your team's health more actively, you might find her a bit one-dimensional. But if healing is your top priority and you want a character who can keep the whole party alive with almost zero downtime, Sigewinne is definitely someone to consider. Kuki Shinobu is one of those healers in Genshin Impact who flips the usual healing game on its head. She's a sword-wielding electro character, but what really makes her stand out is that she actually heals better when she's below half health. Sounds risky, right? But that low HP state boosts both the amount she heals with her elemental skill, Sanctifying Ring, and the duration of her elemental burst. Plus, how much she heals depends on a mix of her own health points and elemental mastery, which makes building her a fun puzzle to solve. One of the coolest things about Kuki's healing is that you don't have to babysit her standing right next to your other characters. Her elemental skill creates a ring that follows her around, healing teammates and applying electro to nearby enemies. This means you can keep her moving around freely without worrying about everyone clustering up, which adds a lot of flexibility during combat. It's kind of like having a mobile healing turret that also keeps enemies zapped and ready for elemental reactions. When Kuki first came out, people weren't super hyped about her because electro was considered a weaker element overall. But that changed big time with the introduction of quicken reactions in Sumeru, which gave her healing and electro application much more value. Now she's a solid pick if you want a healer who can keep your team topped off while also contributing to damage through clever electro combos. She's definitely one of those characters who rewards you for mastering her unique playstyle. Jean is one of those all-around characters in Genshin Impact who manages to juggle healing and damage like a pro. She uses a sword and anemo powers, and her healing comes mainly from her elemental burst called Dandelion Breeze. What's awesome about her burst is that it heals every party member instantly based on her attack stat, which means the more you build her attack, the better her heals get. On top of that, she creates a healing field that continuously restores health to the active character, while also pushing back and damaging enemies who get too close. But Jean isn't just about healing, she's also a solid sub DPS. Her attack power is pretty high for a healer, so she can hold her own in fights without needing constant backup. What makes her even more interesting is her first ascension passive, Wind Companion, which gives a 50% chance to regenerate your team's HP whenever she lands a normal attack. This means even when her elemental burst is on cooldown, she's still contributing to your team's survivability in a meaningful way. So basically, Jean shines when you want a character who can keep your team healthy and also bring some crowd control and damage to the fight. Her healing is reliable but not constant, which encourages you to use her burst smartly and capitalize on her passive healing during normal attacks. If you like playing characters that do a bit of everything and keep the flow of battle dynamic, Jean is a fantastic pick for your team. Sangonomiya Kokomi is basically the queen of healing in Genshin Impact, and her kit is built around keeping your team alive no matter what. She wields a catalyst and comes with a unique twist. She has a built-in 25% healing bonus, but in exchange, her critical rate drops by 100%. So she's not here to crit enemies, she's here to heal big and keep your team in top shape. Her elemental skill summons a jellyfish that creates a large healing zone around it, constantly restoring health to your active character as long as they stay inside. Her elemental burst, Nereid's Ascension, takes her healing game even further. While it's active, Kokomi's normal attacks heal every single team member, making her an amazing sustain source during fights. Plus, she has passives that boost her healing power even more, and one of those passives lets her reset the cooldown on her elemental skill right after using her burst. This means you can keep that healing jellyfish going almost non-stop, which is huge in longer battles. Besides being an incredible healer, Kokomi can also tank hits better than most healers thanks to her high health stat, and her burst brings some crowd control that helps keep enemies in check. She's perfect if you want a healer who not only keeps everyone healthy, but also helps control the battlefield while soaking up damage. Just be aware that her lack of crit means she's not about dealing damage, but when it comes to support and survivability, Kokomi really shines. Escoffier is definitely a character with a pretty specialized playstyle in Genshin Impact. She's a cryo user who wields a polearm, and her kit really shines when you have a team built around cryo and hydro elements. If you manage to have 4 characters from these 2 elements, her elemental skill and burst will reduce the enemy's resistance to cryo and hydro by a whopping 55%. That's huge for boosting your team's damage output, but if you remove even 1 character from those elements, that resistance shred drops drastically to just 15%, so she's definitely niche in that sense. That said, even if you're not running a full cryo hydro lineup, Escoffier still brings solid healing to the table. Her elemental burst, scoring cuts, instantly restores health to all party members, which is already pretty valuable. But it doesn't stop there. After the burst, she keeps healing the active character every second for 9 whole seconds. This consistent healing makes her a reliable source of sustain in battles, especially when you need that steady stream of HP recovery over time. Plus, if you manage to unlock her constellations, her healing potential goes even further, making her an even stronger support pick. So while Escoffier might not be for everyone, especially if you're not running a cryo hydro heavy team, she can still be a fantastic healer with some added damage utility. If you like characters that reward you for careful team building and timing, she's definitely worth a try. Bennett is kind of a rare gem in Genshin Impact since there aren't many healers who work with the pyro element, but he absolutely holds his own. He's a sword user whose elemental burst, Fantastic Voyage, creates a fiery field that heals the active character standing inside it. Or, if they're already at full health, it gives them a nice attack boost instead. This makes him super versatile because he can either save you from a clutch situation or pump up your damage when you don't need healing. What really takes Bennett to the next level is his first constellation, Grand Expectation. With it unlocked, your active character doesn't just get healed inside the burst field, they also get an attack buff at the same time. This combo of healing plus attack boost is why Bennett has been a fan favorite, even when healers weren't the meta. He's great for almost any team setup because his burst applies pyro in a way that doesn't interfere too much with elemental reactions, so you can stack him alongside other characters without worrying about messing things up. So, if you want a healer who doubles as a damage booster and fits smoothly into almost any team, Bennett is your guy. He's easy to use, packs a punch, and keeps your team healthy and strong all at once. Definitely one of those characters that brings both utility and fun to the party. Xianyun has really shaken up the healer scene in Genshin Impact since her release in the version 4.4 update. There's been a fun rivalry going on between her and Bennett for the title of Best Healer, and while both bring unique strengths, Xianyun often pulls ahead thanks to her powerful elemental burst healing. Her burst, Stars Gather at Dusk, doesn't just heal the team instantly, it creates a healing effect that follows your active character around, giving continuous support no matter where they go. This makes her healing super flexible and reliable, especially during fast-paced battles. On top of that, Xianyun's Anemo vision opens up a lot of possibilities for team synergy. She can use the Viridescent Venera artifact set to shred enemy resistances with the Swirl reaction, which multiplies your party's damage potential significantly. This means she's not just a healer, but also a support that boosts your overall damage output, making her really versatile in team compositions. It's like getting a healer and a crowd control specialist rolled into one. And if you want to add even more firepower, Xianyun's kit lets her use plunge attacks as her main damage source, which is pretty rare for a healer. This means she can contribute solid damage without stealing the spotlight from your main DPS characters. All in all, Xianyun is a great pick if you want a healer who keeps your team alive while also boosting damage and controlling the battlefield in smart ways. Xilonen might catch you off guard as a Geo healer in Genshin Impact since Geo characters aren't typically known for their healing power, but she definitely earns her spot on the list. Her elemental burst, Ocelot Liquid Point, isn't going to flood your team with healing like some of the big healers, but it's enough to keep your active character alive even during those chaotic moments in battle. So, if you're looking for non-stop healing, she might not be your best bet, but she can definitely provide clutch survivability when it matters most. What really makes Xilonen stand out isn't just her healing, but the huge support she brings in terms of damage boosts and utility. With the right weapon and artifact setups, she can pump up your whole team's elemental damage bonus and attack stats, which is a massive help in tougher fights. Plus, she has the ability to shred enemy resistance, making your team's damage hits hit even harder. So, she's more than just a healer. She's a great iffy all-around support that can really boost your team's overall damage output. That said, if you want to take full advantage of Xilonen's healing abilities, you'll need to build her as a support character rather than a main healer. She works best by backing up your main damage dealers and offering healing when needed, but her real value shines in the buffs and resistance shred she provides. If you like playing more strategic support roles, Xilonen is definitely worth experimenting with. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.